Hi all, welcome into the night. I'm Joanne and with me I have Carl, McKeely and Byron.
Tonight we explore some of the haunted alleyways of Melbourne, but first talking to Melbourne haunted bookshop owner Steve, then taking a trip down to Pink Alley.
We're also going to be exploring some haunted places from right here in Melbourne CBD.
Could you give us a bit more about the history of both places, McKeely?
Of course, the haunted bookshop was located on McKillop Street in the CBD. Now, the store itself wasn't haunted, but it was home to many occult and paranormal items, and as well as being the meeting place for witches and members of the paranormal. Unfortunately, the store had to close down its physical location, but Steve is still keeping the store online, selling the same items that they originally did.
Oh, that's really cool that he still runs it online.
Yeah, I've never seen like an online-only bookstore.
I've actually heard that the original physical bookshop was open for about 20 years, and while it was open, it was one of the only places that occultists and witches could meet up. It was one of the first shops of its kind. Yeah.
I've actually heard that Melbourne is an UNESCO city of literature, but I don't really know if we can keep that up if we keep on closing bookstores.
Yeah. Pink Alley, on the other hand, is haunted by the ghost of the Gun Alley murders. This alleyway no longer exists today, but people say they feel the presence of a 12-year-old girl that was murdered in the original Gun Alley. They found her body the day after she went missing, and a man, Colin Ross, was convicted of the murder and was sentenced to death after a strand of her red hair was found in his house. But it has now been proven with DNA evidence that he was not the killer. Her presence is most often felt by pregnant women when they enter the alley, and they feel this overwhelming feeling of sadness. I think it's crazy that specifically pregnant women feel this overwhelming feeling of sadness.
Yeah, I reckon it's because, you know, the victim was a child, and obviously that's what they're carrying with them at that moment.
Yeah. Well, I think it's awful that we don't hear about this stuff more often.
Yeah, I think it's great that we have this platform to bring light to this darker side of history.
Definitely. Well, before we investigate Pink Alley, let's go talk to Steve on Prescove's Place about the haunted bookshop.
Hi, my name's Steve Yass. I currently work in construction, but I have an online bookshop called The Haunted Bookshop. It's a bookshop that's devoted to paranormal, covering as many aspects as I possibly can without being too silly about it. Ghosts, cryptids, UFOs, witchcraft, Satanism. That's where my interest lies, but mainly with ghosts and hauntings. The Haunted Bookshop, as most people would know around here, was a really well-known bookshop, a physical site in Melbourne in McKillop Street. And for a variety of reasons, it had to close down in 2019. It was a really cool shop to go into, had a real atmosphere about it. The guy who ran it, Drew, was a really cool dude and had lots and lots of great titles, like Black Cats and all sort of stuff running around. It had a really good, it felt like he'd walked into it like another time. Unfortunately, he had to close that down, and I didn't even realise until recently that it had closed down. But when I did a bit of research, I saw that a business name was available. I found a domain name that I could use, and so I decided to try and resurrect the Haunted Bookshop in an online form. The book that people seem to be most interested in is books that are based on true hauntings, because they've obviously read something about it somewhere, they want to further their knowledge. That tends to be the true hauntings, and UFO abduction seems to be quite popular. And also there's a bit of interest in cryptids as well. So just the Bigfoot phenomena, and even like some of the Australian equivalents that tend to have been sort of like the Yowies and stuff that you hear about in the Blue Mountains, and yeah, they're probably the ones that you get the most interest about. I really enjoy books that are based on people's personal experiences. The stories are told by people that really have nothing to gain by telling them, so there's no really financial interest in the story. It's just that someone's trying to tell you what happened to them and what they saw or what they thought they saw. And to me, that's the sort of stories I like to read. Otherwise, they can, when people do their own what becomes an investigation, there's vested interest in all sorts of stuff going on. I just like to hear people's stories. We did have a brick from a certain historical site at one point, but we had to send it back because it was had a bit of bad sort of juju associated with it. We sent it back to the site that it did come from, and we were asked if we would like to be interviewed about the brick, because a lot of items that had been stolen have actually been sent back to this site. The biggest item that had been sent back was the door to the morgue, which was stolen and then sent back because the person had such bad luck with it.
Did you have any experiences with the brick?
Not so much me, but my brother. Like, he was the one who brought the brick back, and basically everything he did just turned to crap for the next 6 months. And he got to the point where he heard about the stuff that was going on at this site and when things had been taken, and he had no choice but to send it back. So he sent it back. Unfortunately, put his return address on the back, so I knew who we were. So we thought we were going to get a massive fine. But after he sent it back, things kind of sorted themselves out a bit. Most people who are actually who ring and or make inquiries about, they're all we'll say fairly like-minded. There's no one that sort of like really stands out as being incredibly, one that I thought, oh, he's like really strange, or they're all pretty much the same. Everyone seems to be pretty fairly like-minded. Everyone's fairly has a good attitude towards it. You do get the odd person, I had a few skeptical, super skeptics ring up, and they'll sort of ask why I'd even bother. But that's their thing, and you can't. If someone who's a pseudo skeptic, as I call them, because they come from a place where it doesn't matter if they saw a ghost, they still wouldn't accept it because it would rock their world view so much. People, as a general rule, people who do come in, they're all like-minded. We're all on the same page. Yeah, I've had quite a few paranormal experiences over the years. Probably the most intense one was one that was at a uncle's house in the country. We were just playing cards. I was about 15 or 16 at the time, playing cards with my aunt and my mum. We heard footsteps on the outside of the house. We went outside, there was no one there. Went back inside, they came back again, walked down the side again, went back out, no one there. So I locked the door. But from that night on, that house turned really, really nasty. The dogs wouldn't come in. And if they did come in, they wouldn't go down the hallway. They just lay down and drop and growl, like there was something in the hallway. The kids started waking up at night, wanted to know who all the people were in the lounge room at night. They couldn't sleep because of all the people talking. And then it got to the point where my cousin, would see a creature standing in his doorway at night that was half man, half animal. So from the waist down it was like human, from the waist up it was animal. They used to just stand in his doorway at night. And eventually they had to move because they couldn't stay there any longer. We don't know what happened with the house or if it happened to people afterwards, but yeah, it certainly wasn't a nice place to stay in. The thing I'd like to say is that the bookshops gives people an avenue, if they're interested in the paranormal, it gives them an avenue to further their knowledge and explore all the different ideas on what paranormal is and what different explanations for different phenomena. And not everything's paranormal. Probably 99% of stuff can be explained away, but if there's 1,000 things that happen, there only needs to be one that can be verified as being genuinely paranormal. That's all you need, just the one. So guys, if you're ever looking for any books related to the paranormal, check out my website. It's www.thehauntedbookshop.com.au, and have a wander through if you're brave enough. Take it easy. Bye.
Wow, there were some really interesting stories that Steve had to tell us.
I wonder if he has any books on Pink Alley.
Speaking of which, we should find out who's going.
Today I've prepared a goblet with our names in it. Joanne, would you like to do the honours?
Sure. Close my eyes. Look. All right, first name is me, actually.
Ah.
And let's see who's gonna come with me. I choose this one. And Carl. Yeah.
Alright.
Good
So
luck,
yeah,
guys.
we're gonna head out.
See you guys on the other side.
Bye.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
While the others are out ghost hunting, we're going to share some stories from Melbourne's very own CBD, places that viewers at home can go visit themselves. So we're going to share some tales, and then you guys at home can vote on our Instagram which story you think was the best.
Can I start?
Sure, but I think my story's going to be better.
I mean, I highly doubt that, but let's get started. Here I go. This story is of the ghost of Mitre Tavern. The Mitre Tavern in Melbourne CBD is haunted by the spirit of a woman named Connie Waugh. People believe she hung herself at the tavern after finding out that her lover had married another woman. She's often seen on the balcony of Mitre Tavern, looking to the building across, the Savage Club. People believe this is where her lover, Sir William Clark, spent quite some time. People have also mentioned that they felt a cold breeze there, while others have seen a woman in a white flowing dress, and have even heard singing.
Wow. Do you think she has a nice voice?
Yeah, I feel like ghosts would have better voices than like normal people.
They
I don't
must
know why.
have some like otherworldly skills that can, you know, make them the best at the karaoke party in the underworld.
Yeah, do you think they party a lot?
I mean, they've got nowhere to be, got no 9 to 5.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
If I was a ghost, I'd just be chilling out like all day and just going ham all night.
That's what you do anyway, so there's not much difference. I think it's so interesting that she looks across the road at the place where her ex-lover was, because in my opinion, if ghosts are real, which I think they are, I think that they're here for unfinished business. And, you know, that's sort of her unfinished business, her lover that, you know, she never got to be with till the end.
Do you think when you die, you're going to become a ghost?
I don't think I'll have any unfinished business, but I think it'd be fun to be a ghost.
I mean, you don't know where you're going to be like 40 years from now.
I
Like,
know.
you could be going through, you could have like some unfinished mail or like,
I know, I gotta mail that letter.
yeah.
I've got to do season 2 of the show. Wow. Well, I think I have a story that might top yours. Have you heard of Princess Theatre before?
I've heard of it, but I've never been.
Well, after hearing the story, you might want to go ghost hunting. So, Princess Theatre is haunted by the ghost of an opera singer, Frederici. Frederici is an opera singer from the 1800s who came from abroad to perform for us in Melbourne. After hitting a really high note on stage, unfortunately he passed away in the green room. He died instantly, but the crew said they saw him at the final curtain call and was so confused because he just passed away. Since then, Princess Theatre has been haunted by the ghost of Frederici, and they leave a seat for him at every performance, and he can be seen in the front 2 rows berating and belittling the performers.
Wow, that's kind of a stitch up though. Like if you have a sold out show and there's like only 1 seat left and like some ghosts are taking it.
Yeah, but I think it'd be interesting to sit next to a ghost. You'd have a lot of stories to tell. And if it's a nice summer day, they'd have a nice cold breeze next to you.
I still think they could like give the seat out and somebody could just sit like inside Federici, like inside the ghost.
If you were a ghost, would you want to be sat inside of Byron?
Oh, well, I mean like, yeah, that's a fair point, if he's real.
Yeah. I think it's interesting that a lot of the ghosts we've been talking about are, you know, performers and opera singers. It's like they've got this unfinished business of never, I guess, getting to do their final performance, that one show that they can tick off the bucket list. Again, it goes with the unfinished business.
I wonder if you did like a chart, like how many of the ghosts would be singers or like artists or something.
Well, I guess the ghost karaoke party would go off.
Yeah, they'd go crazy. Yeah.
All right, Byron, I'll give you one more chance to do better than my story.
I think I've got you. I think I've got this. Well, we've done pubs, theatres, but what about a haunted hotel? Did you know Hotel Windsor is said to be haunted by the spirit of Dame Nellie Melba? She was a singer from the early 1900s who would meet her lover at the Windsor Hotel and pay the staff to keep quiet. People have seen the ghost of a teenage boy on level 1 protecting her room. And other people have heard Nellie belting out a sick opera tune.
Wow, another opera singer.
Yeah, right?
I don't know, hotels are already creepy enough. I don't think I would want a ghost there to make it even worse.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, what do you think is like the scariest place to see a ghost? I don't think there's ever like a good place to see a ghost.
I feel like just anywhere, even like your house, I feel like would be the scariest place.
Yeah.
Because when you see something scary, you're like, I just want to go home. But you are home and there's a ghost there.
Yeah, but I don't know, ghosts seem kind of like mean. Like there's no positive stories about ghosts, right?
Yeah, well, you know, they can teach you things about like the world that you don't know, and you know.
Yeah.
I think there's some nice ghosts out there. We just haven't met them yet.
I'm sure. I guess that's probably just like horror movies that are like stigmatizing it. Like
Yeah. Well, that's what this show's aiming to do. Try bring out the niceness in
a
ghosts.
positive side of
A
ghosts.
positive side of ghosts.
It's a nice way to think about it, McKeely.
Exactly. I think that, you know, if you were gonna be a ghost anywhere, I feel like a hotel would be good. You don't have to pay rent. Yeah, you get to see so many guests.
Yeah.
It'd be cool. It'd be like a traveling abroad.
But then again, do you have your own room, or are you like always sleeping with just like random people in the same room that are like renting out?
You get to
that
meet
room?
new people.
Yeah, that's true. Get to
Wow.
hang out with new people, new crowd.
Exactly. Well, those were some very interesting stories that we found. And if you guys at home want to vote on which one you liked the best, go to our Instagram or our Facebook.
Beautiful.
We're here where Gun Alley used to be, but obviously over the years, buildings have been built on top of it.
And behind us is Pink Alley, where a lot of people have had reported hauntings.
Let's head on over.
So we're here now at Pink Alley. We're just gonna walk around and see what the atmosphere is like and how we feel and what we experience as we walk around.
Awesome.
So apparently when pregnant women come to this area, they feel an overwhelming sense of sadness. Because obviously it was a brutal murder of a child.
Yep. Yeah, and like even more tragically, on top of that, is that the guy that they accused and hung,
He was innocent.
it was like, yeah, they had like a strand of hair. That was the main case that he was there, and they murdered him. And then they, you know, forensics did 86 years later, and not the same DNA.
It wasn't the girl.
Yeah.
It wasn't his. He was innocent.
Yeah.
Like, I do not believe in ghosts. I don't believe in the supernatural and that. But despite the fact, it's still tragic and sad to think about the
Yeah.
history behind this area.
Maybe that's what like a haunting is, you know? Even though the landscapes change so much, like there's still memory here, and like we still have our history books on it, and maybe what's scary and what's tragic and what's sad is what is haunting this place, because we know what's happened.
So we're just gonna try and get some basic audio readings. Carl, do you want to start us off?
Yep, absolutely. Hi, my name is Carl.
Hi, my name's Joanne.
We're here for research and not to harm you. Can you tell us your name? Right?
Yep.
Let's give that a listen.
Hi, my name is Carl.
Hi, my name's Joanne.
We're here for research and not to harm you. Can you tell us your name?
All right, try another question. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Who are you? Can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Who are you? I'll try one more question. Can you say our names back to us? Can you say our names back to us?
I don't think I heard anything in all of those.
Yeah. Doesn't look like it's a good day for ghost hunting.
Yeah. Well, let's move on.
Guess we'll head off.
So that was Pink Alley.
And even if you don't believe in the supernatural or ghosts, just knowing the tragedy that happened in this area is enough to give anyone uneasy feelings.
Back to you guys at the studio.
Welcome
Hey,
back,
guys.
guys.
Hi,
Bye-bye. We're back.
How was the studio without us?
It was great. We missed you dearly.
Oh, thanks.
That story is just so heartbreaking, you know, and you know the fact that she never got real justice is just so sad.
I mean, I think that's why a lot of people do feel an overwhelming sense of sadness, because obviously she never found peace, you know?
Yeah, even though we didn't see or hear anything, that place just has a downtrodden energy to it. It really affects you.
I mean, I think if you knew what happened there, it kind of really affected and altered the grounds. in that area.
And how sad is it they never found the real killer?
I know.
Yeah. Well, that being said, that's all we have time for. Thanks for venturing with us into the night. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Good night.
Be nice to ghosts.